single song in the show.
Yes,
That must
absolutely.
be
From the
exhausting.
downbeats to the encore. So
I love that. Growing up, I've always had this fascination with drummers. No one drums in my family. I really have no musicians in my family, but there's something really hot about a guy on the sticks, like really carrying the beat.
Pounding, right?
Like just pounding. There's something about it. And the facial, it's so sexy. What do you love so much about being a drummer? I mean, look at the pictures. You look so happy.
It does. It makes me happy.
Yeah.
It definitely makes me happy. Well, I think I originally started on piano.
Okay.
That was my original instrument, and I loved it. But to get to my piano lessons, I walked through a drum shop. So on the way into my piano lessons, I was, I love all this shiny stuff and give me those sticks and all that. So pretty soon, I found that was going to be my calling.
And
So-
that's how you
started.
We're okay with that? Loud noises, banging on things?
That's a prerequisite for a drummer is understanding parents and supportive parents. So they were okay.
What age were you when you got started?
I was about 8 years old.
Okay, so your mom and dad were living with us for a while.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
When you learn to read music for the piano, does that coincide with drums?
It does.
I don't know much
it
about
does.
music.
For me, it's been the perfect combination because the rhythm notation is the same.
Okay.
So it's the language. And knowing the language, I think, is important for any instrument so that you can communicate with other musicians.
Yeah. Yeah.
So in that way, it was a beautiful thing. Plus, I still play piano and I compose and that, and I've done some things
You
on
do it all,
record.
right.
And but then it keeps your mind in the motion of the technical side of what you're doing as well.
Now you play rock, but what were your early influences? Were you always a rock and roll guy, or what music did you like best when you were a kid?
Well, classical piano, but also growing up in New Mexico, I was exposed to flamenco.
Oh wow! Okay.
And that my parents would take me to the gypsy flamenco parties when I was just a little guy, and the rhythms are unreal, right? So it's beautiful, but at the same time, it's passionate.
Yes.
So that was always an influence. But early on, I did have I leaned a little bit more toward jazz and to fusion and progressive rock, with rock and roll firmly right in the middle of that as well.
Any particular performer that stood out more than others for you? Idols?
There's so many, of course. I think in the jazz days it was Chick Corea, Mahavishnu Orchestra, Al Di Meola, these kind of things. And then the progressive rock, it was Genesis and Yes and all the family trees, which is nice. I'm part of that tree now.
Yes,
It's
you are.
very
You
cool.
branch on that tree.
Yeah, and then I think as far as drumming influences, it would be Alan White from Yes, and Tony Williams, Jack DeJohnette, and John Bonham. But diversity. I've always really enjoyed the diversity.
Drumming is so physical too. I mean, I'm always in awe of your coordination. It's like, how are you getting all this stuff together? Yeah, it's
Memorize
fantastic.
it.
Now, and also, obviously, the drums can get very loud. You're banging away there. Have you ever blown out an eardrum?
That's a good question. In the very beginning, my first drum instructor gave me the shotgun, protection, right? Says, here, we're going to wear these when we play, right? And I found that I enjoyed the sound because it took some of the sibilants out of the top and compressed it a little bit so I could play longer without ear fatigue. Because
Now you're able to hear.
Yeah, and that's one thing about loud sounds in general is you get the fight or flight thing going on, and your body's telling you, I gotta leave, get out of here, and you're trying to relax and perform.
Right.
So I've always used ear protection.
Yeah, that's
Smart.
So I can hear you guys really well.
We're going to all lose our eardrums one day, too.
We're going to let you hear from our viewers in a minute. We're going to get into our trending topics, and here's